On WHITradio.org.
Good morning, everybody. It's the Morning Buzz here on WHITradio.org. Here in the studio today is Mr. P and Kayleigh, and I'm your host, Brandon Barris, and here is today's headline news. His upcoming legislative push for tighter restrictions on firearms won't ignore the concerns of gun owners, President Barack Obama said in a whole-ranging interview published Sunday. He pointed specifically to Americans' hunting and shooting traditions, which he said was also a part of the tradition Camp David, Maryland, the presidential retreat. And now here is Kayleigh on the Brazilian nightclub fire.
Well, the fire started with the acoustic foam installation from the ceiling of the nightclub Kiss in southern Brazilian city of Santa Maria. It was on fire, and then it began to spread throughout the club. Basically, it was hot ash that fell onto the stage and the dance floor. Police have already arrested 3 people in connection with the fire. The state media report. The owners of the nightclub pledged to cooperate with an investigation of how exactly it started. At least 231 people have died from the fire, according to authorities, and funerals are scheduled to begin today for those who were killed. An eyewitness account said that it was like a war zone with bodies being piled up in front of
I think that's
entrance.
Incredible. 240 people, mostly from asphyxiation.
Right.
They just couldn't breathe.
Right, those are our news stories for today. If you want to call in on the Morning Buzz, the number is 201-854-8224 for any questions, comments, or concerns. You can also comment on Ustream with the Morning Buzz.
Morning crew, Morning Buzz, what do you think, is Obama going to be able to get the restrictions on firearms through Congress? What do you think?
I hope soon. I mean,
it's going to be a fight.
It is going to be a fight.
It's going to be hard to get, I think.
I mean, I hope so, but
it's a fight he
I
has
find
to
it doubtful.
win.
What?
I hope so, but I find it doubtful.
Yeah, well, it's going to be an uphill fight because even some Democrats who come from rural areas do not want to vote for this.
Right.
So he doesn't even really have his whole party. He's got to hope for some Republicans to cross over. I think he has some, but it's going to be a real battle.
Yeah, I mean, you hear people now saying, that security guards should have guns and people that are in front of schools should have guns. So instead of taking away guns, they want to add more guns.
Right.
And that's just adding more flame to the fire.
Yeah.
Because if you give more people guns and you give a ton of, guns to people that you don't know their background history and you don't know what they're capable of, then you're just going to add more problems to the world and add more, chaos. And, I hate to say this, but what if there's even more shootings? You don't want that.
Right, and you create a culture of being like in a prison.
Right.
You have armed guards roaming the halls or whatever.
I feel like maybe it should be more difficult to try and attain a gun. You shouldn't just be able to say, yes, I would like a gun, here's some money. And yes, I check off, I do not have any mental disorders.
Right, well, a lot of people would check that off who do have mental disorders.
Right. Well, like the Springfield Mall shooting in the 80s, a woman who was schizophrenic just checked off saying, I don't have a mental disorder, and she killed 3 people and injured many more.
Wow. Do you know that people can go into any gun show and get a gun without a background check? It's so easy to get a gun.
That's why we need to make more restrictions and make it more difficult to try and get a gun.
Yeah.
It should be like if when you buy a car, there's a lot of different kinds of background checks and insurance stuff. It's easier to buy a gun than to buy a car.
But as they said, the flood has already gone over the gate, as they say, because it's over 300 million guns out there already. And it's so easy to get one, from the underground or from somebody giving somebody else a gun. I don't know how you can stop it, but at least let's get a little more restrictions.
All right. That is our headline news for today here on the Morning Buzz. And now here is Kayleigh with Today in History.
Well, in 1915, Germans sank an American merchant ship. American recording artists gathered to record We Are the World in 1985. 2006, Clint Eastwood was honored by the Directors Guild of America. And in 1986, the Challenger exploded. At 11:38 a.m. On January 28, 1986, the space shuttle, the Challenger, lifted from Florida, and around 30 seconds after that, it exploded in midair. Christina McGuffel was on her way to become the first ordinary U.S. Civilian to travel in space.
First teacher.
Yeah, she was 37 years old, who was a high school social studies teacher from New Hampshire, and the way she was able to do that was she won a competition to become part of the 7-member crew of the Challenger. It was actually after it launched, there was hundreds of ground, including her own family. They had to witness as the shuttle exploded in forking plume of smoke and fire. It was actually delayed several times before the launch due to weather and technical difficulties, and this happened live, so millions watched the tragedy, and as expected, there were no survivors.
Yeah, I was watching that live, and it was just a shock.
Imagine how tragic it was for her family and her
Imagine,
students
yeah,
there.
Oh, yeah.
Most likely her
Crazy.
students were watching it at the time. It means like, hey, my teacher's about to go in space.
Probably in disbelief for at least a good amount of time.
It started like this. It was like a V. It just went
Right.
Actually, History.com, if you go to like Today in History, they actually have like footage of that going on. Like when I was researching it, Brandon and I actually saw
the video,
the recording.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, with all the technology of now today, we're not just talking about rockets. I mean, there's always going to be defects. There's always going to be defaults. There's always going to be that one problem or one concern with the technology up and coming, right? You
could run a bunch of simulations and have that one simulation that says this might happen, and it's like, oh, it's 1 out of 10 times that's going to happen.
But all you need
and it could be that one time that it happens.
Right.
But with NASA now being put on the back burner and no more funding, I guess we just won't find out until it gets more funding.
Yep, that's absolutely right.
If it ever gets more funding.
Ever, yeah.
With our economy like this.
Well, our random fact for today is banging your head against a wall uses 150 calories an hour.
If you make it to an hour.
Yeah, I don't even know why you would bang your head against the wall
I think you might
to burn
get
calories.
a concussion before you burn all those calories.
Yeah, I think if you do that, you obviously severely want to hurt yourself. So we don't want any of our audience doing that or trying it out. Please, we don't want that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would have to worry about that. That 150 calories by that time.
Yeah.
They'll lose a lot more weight, you know.
Oh, yeah, they'll lose weight, all right.
They won't be breathing.
Yeah. So that's our random fact for today. Always interesting and always cool. And now here is Kayleigh with today's birthdays.
Well, Joy Fatone, who's a member of NSYNC, turned 36 today.
Right.
Sarah McKellen turned 45.
Right.
Rick Ross turned 37. Jessica Ennis is 27. Colin Worthy is 22. Nick Carter is 33, and Ailijah Wood is 32. Ailijah Wood is mainly known for playing Frodo Baggins in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. He actually began his career as a child model and was featured in local television commercials.
Is he in The Hobbit?
He was in the very beginning of The Hobbit when Bilbo Baggins was
your favorite movie, right?
Yes. One of my favorite movies. When they're kind of just like first like going back and telling you who Bilbo was, and it's like they started off like right before Lord of the Rings starts.
Wow.
A trivia fact: you may know Frodo in Lord of the Rings trilogy, but also he had a small role in Back to the Future 2 at a very young age.
Wow.
Happy birthday to everybody on that list from everybody here on the WHIT radio crew. You were saying it's Rick Ross's birthday, right?
Yep.
And we all know Big Ross. No, he does a couple songs and has that in it. But anyway, in sports, Mr. P, Rajon Rondo's down for the Celtics, torn ACL, out for the season.
Yeah.
And also, Chris Paul has a bruised kneecap, so he'll be out for a little bit for the Clippers. So, Mr. P, the two top leaders in assists are now out.
Right.
And their team's really struggling.
Yeah, Rajon Rondo, that is a big blow for
Yes,
the league, big blow for the Celtics. They are now in jeopardy of not making the playoffs. So they beat the Miami Heat yesterday afternoon in double overtime. The Knicks won.
They did, 106-104 against the Hawks.
Very competitive game. Carmelo had 42 points, and it was a nice win for them after a terrible outing on Friday night against the 76ers.
Right.
So.
And the Nets also winning on Saturday against Houston. Losing 119-106.
Right.
They played tonight against Orlando.
Right.
So.
And our boy Victor Cruz from the New York Giants, not your boy but my boy, 10 receptions, breaking an all-time record for the All-Pro game. And Eli Manning threw for almost 200 yards. So the Giants played a big role in this big win for the NFL. They scored 62 points. It was an offensive game, obviously, and so Victor Cruz, who wants $8 to $10 million a year for, I think, 4 or 5 years. So I don't know if the Giants are going to give it to him, but after this performance, they may want to.
Too bad those stats couldn't help the Giants win this year, huh?
Yeah, but at least they won last year, Brandon.
They did. They did.
They beat your team.
They absolutely did.
Yeah.
Yep.
And where's your team this year? They're not.
Right now I think they're all home.
They're in the Super
They're
Bowl.
joining my team.
Yeah.
Well, no, your team was home a long time ago.
Shush.
Who's your team?
Buffalo Bills. I may never be able to join you guys talk about the Super Bowl, but I will wear my sweatshirt proudly.
Yeah, you're in that Dolphins category.
We are not as bad
You're
as
not
the Dolphins.
considered NFL teams, and I'm just kidding.
We're not as bad as the Dolphins.
Yeah, the Dolphins are pretty bad. I don't even.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're.
I mean, at least our stadium is actually in New York.
That's true. That is true.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad our stadium is in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Are you a New Yorker?
No.
Well, so.
But it's the only New York team with a stadium in New York.
They're the only.
We should actually be called the New Jersey Giants and New Jersey Nets. Jets, I don't know why we're not, but
money,
yes.
Yep. Money issues is always a problem. And here to round off the show is Kayleigh with the weather.
Well, right now it is 33 degrees, but it actually feels like 27. Expect snowy conditions today. Steady snow will become mixed with sleet or freezing rain at around noon. And the rain will continue until the afternoon. The rest of the day is supposed to be cloudy with temperatures reaching the mid-30s. Winds south-southwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. The chance of precipitation right now is 85%. But expect about 1 inch of snow through around 3 p.m. Tomorrow it's supposed to be cloudy skies, the high around 45, and winds are supposed to be light and can vary.
Does it look like a warming trend for this week?
Possibly, because today is going to be, of course, snow. Yeah. Tomorrow's supposed to get around 10 degrees warmer, but Wednesday's supposed to drop back down a little.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay. Well,
I don't consider warm until it hits about 90 degrees.
Well,
you're insane.
For me, once it gets over 80, I'm uncomfortable. But 90, it's okay if you're by the beach. But
well, yeah, that's where I go. So.
I kind of like this weather.
I don't like it because it's too cold. I have to wear a jacket, and I don't like wearing jackets. And then I have to bundle up, as my mother would say. So I don't really like this weather. I mean, the only reason why I like the winter is because of snowboarding. I didn't even go this year, so winter can kind of leave right about now, and I'll be happy. But
I like it. I think it's nice because it's kind of like gives a different perspective. Because the last couple summers we've had have been insanely warm.
That's why I like it.
No, yeah. I don't like hot weather.
I love hot weather, but that is our show for today here on the Morning Buzz. Please check us out every day of the week. For Mr. P, Kayleigh, and myself, we will see you guys tomorrow.
Listening to the Dr. No Show on WHITradio.org.